The clock struck midnight when Emily Turner sat alone in her dim apartment, her eyes heavy with exhaustion but her nerves too frayed to rest. She reached for her phone, startled, as a voicemail autoplayed. A trembling male voice whispered, "They know where you are." Static hissed, followed by silence that clawed at her chest. Emily whispered, "Who's doing this to me?" before a piercing scream shattered the air outside. She jolted upright, racing to her window, but the street was empty, shadows curling in corners where the light should reach. She rushed outside, her breath visible in the cold night, but there was no one there. Only a small brass locket lay glinting in the dirt. Its surface bore strange, unreadable symbols that twisted under the glow of a flickering streetlight. Emily felt her pulse racing as she picked it up, her mind reeling. She whispered, "This can't be real." But deep inside, she knew the nightmare had only begun. Emily clutched the locket tightly as if it might vanish. She whispered, "Who left this here?" But the silence pressed heavier with each breath. The chills seeped through her coat, urging her back inside, though fear gnawed at her ribs. In her apartment, the voicemail replayed on its own, the words distorted now into echoes of her own name. She flinched, covering her ears, yet the sound vibrated in her chest. Her heart pounded as the lights flickered overhead. She said softly, "Someone's watching me." Her reflection in the window blurred, face fragmented like broken glass, reminding her of secrets she wished buried. Alone and trembling, she sank onto the couch, clutching the locket tighter. She muttered, "It's only beginning." The voicemail stopped abruptly, leaving a ringing silence. Emily tried calling back, but the number displayed only zeros. Panic tightened her chest as she whispered, "This isn't real." A knock suddenly rattled her door, sharp and quick, making her jolt upright. She froze, holding her breath, then whispered, "Who's there?" No answer came. Another knock echoed, slower this time, as if mocking her fear. She reached for the chain lock, her hands trembling. Her mind raced through every possibility, but none felt safe. She stepped back, deciding not to open it, her voice cracking as she muttered, "Go away." The knock stopped, leaving her in a suffocating silence, broken only by her uneven breathing. Emily backed away from the door, her eyes darting toward the window where the streetlight outside flickered violently. A shape seemed to linger just beyond the glass, though she couldn't be certain. She whispered, "Please, just leave me alone." Her phone buzzed again, displaying a blank message with a single attachment, a photo of her standing by the window, taken only moments before. She gasped, dropping the phone onto the floor. Her stomach turned to ice. Someone was watching her, close, inside the shadows. She closed the curtains in a frenzy, muttering, "No, no, no." Her pulse thundered in her ears, drowning every rational thought. The apartment felt smaller now, every creak of the building amplified. Emily pressed her back against the wall, clutching the locket close to her chest. She whispered, "Why me?" The silence gave no answers. Suddenly, the light snapped off, plunging her into darkness. She gasped, fumbling for her phone. Its glow lit only inches of her face, highlighting the terror in her eyes. A faint scrape echoed from the kitchen, like metal dragging across tile. Emily whispered, "I'm not alone." She stood frozen, body trembling, knowing something, or someone, had entered her home. The darkness pressed closer, suffocating, as if the walls themselves hid secrets waiting to strike. Emily sat at her kitchen table, the locket between her trembling fingers, as dawn crept pale light through the blinds. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a blocked number flashing across the screen. She whispered, "What do you want from me?" before pressing accept. A deep voice answered, distorted and calm, "Stop searching, or you'll vanish like the others." The line went dead. Emily's stomach churned. She muttered, "Others? What others?" Her gaze flicked to the shadows of her small apartment, where the night's terror still clung like smoke. Determined not to break, she shoved the locket into her coat pocket and stepped outside, the crisp morning air burning her lungs. She thought, "If someone wants me afraid, They're going to see me fight. Emily walked briskly through quiet streets, her coat pulled tightly around her as if armor. Every step echoed too loudly in the early stillness, making her nerves prickle. She muttered, "This can't be coincidence." At the corner, a man leaned against a lamppost, watching her. His dark coat hung heavy, his fedora shadowing his face. She slowed, her pulse skipping. He called out, "Emily Turner." His voice was steady but unreadable. She hesitated, whispering, "Who are you?" The man gave a faint smile that never reached his eyes. "Someone who knows more than you want, or perhaps less than you fear." Emily's chest tightened as suspicion and dread tangled within her. Emily's instincts screamed to run, yet curiosity rooted her in place. The stranger stepped closer, his presence commanding but unreadable. He said, "The locket doesn't belong to you. It belonged to someone who knew the truth." Emily's grip tightened in her pocket. She asked, "What truth?" His lips curved in a smirk. "One that's already claimed lives." Emily felt her stomach sink, remembering the voicemail's mention of others. The stranger's eyes flickered briefly in the sunlight, sharp and calculating. "Be careful whom you trust," he warned before turning away. Emily whispered, "Wait," but he vanished into the crowd as if the morning swallowed him whole. Emily stood frozen as the crowd thickened, her breath shallow, eyes darting to catch even a glimpse of the man again. Gone. What? She pulled the locket out, staring at the twisting symbols that seemed to shimmer in the morning sun. A voice behind her startled her, "You shouldn't be showing that here." She spun around to see a woman, mid-30s, blonde hair pulled back, wearing a sharp business suit, her eyes wary yet sympathetic. Emily stammered, "Do you know what this is?" The woman hesitated, glancing around nervously before whispering, "It's a warning, not a clue." Emily's skin crawled. The woman's words rang in Emily's ears, colder than the morning air. Emily said, "Tell me what you know." The woman shook her head. "Knowing gets people killed." She stepped closer, her voice hushed but urgent. "Leave it alone before you disappear too." Emily's chest tightened. "Disappear?" The woman glanced at the crowd, then back at Emily. "I can't say more." Her eyes glistened with unspoken fear before she turned abruptly and melted into the crowd. Emily stood rooted, clutching the locket tighter, her breath ragged. The truth was no longer just hidden, it was hunted. Emily returned to her apartment, the locket heavy in her pocket like a curse. She couldn't shake the stranger's words or the woman's warning. Exhaustion pressed against her skull, yet her fear kept her awake. The voicemail replayed in her head, whispering with distorted menace. She whispered to herself, "What truth? What lives?" Her mind clawed for clarity, but dread clouded every thought. She pulled out the locket, holding it under lamplight, the symbols twisting as if alive. Her breath caught when a faint sound echoed from her hallway. A slow creak, unmistakable. Emily froze, her pulse thundering, realizing she wasn't alone. Emily gripped the locket tighter and moved slowly toward the hallway. Her bare feet pressed against the creaking wood, every step sharp in the silence. At the end of the hall, the door to her bedroom stood ajar, though she swore she had closed it. She whispered, "No, it can't be." Gathering courage, she pushed the door open, heart hammering. On her bed lay a single photograph, placed neatly in the center of the sheets. Her hands shook as she picked it up. It showed her younger self, no older than 8, smiling with her parents. Across the image, words had been scrawled, "Lies always return." Her breath caught in her throat, the photograph trembling between her fingers. Emily whispered, "Who put this here?" The words on the image burned into her mind. She recalled her parents' faces, the way they hid truths from her as a child. Rage mingled with fear. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, vibrating across the wooden dresser. The screen displayed a new message. "Ask them about the locket." Emily's voice cracked as she muttered, "They're gone. I can't." Tears welled in her eyes, but the fear that someone knew her past shook her more than grief. She felt watched, controlled, trapped in a web woven long before tonight. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, the photograph and locket laid before her. Her thoughts tangled as fear whispered that someone knew her darkest secrets. She said aloud, "This isn't random. Someone wants me to break." The words echoed back, thin and hollow. A sudden knock at her window startled her. She turned sharply, curtains fluttering from a draft. Outside stood a man in uniform, a police detective she vaguely recognized from the neighborhood. He knocked again, lifting his badge. "Miss Turner, we need to talk." His voice was steady, but something in his eyes unsettled her. She whispered, "Why now?" Emily hesitated, every nerve urging caution. She opened the window slightly, her voice shaky. "Why are you here?" The detective leaned closer, his eyes dark with fatigue. "Because someone connected to you turned up dead tonight." Emily's heart dropped. "Dead? Who?" He shook his head, avoiding her gaze. "Not here, too many ears." She caught the tremor in his voice, the way his hand clenched at his coat pocket. Something about him was fractured, haunted. Emily whispered, "You were hiding something." The detective met her stare for a moment before looking away, saying only, "You have no idea how deep this goes." Emily followed the detective through dimly lit streets, her steps hurried to match his heavy stride. He didn't speak, his jaw clenched tight, his silence unsettling. Finally she said, "You know more than you're telling me?" He stopped, glancing at her with eyes haunted by secrets. "I know enough to tell you not to trust anyone." She snapped, "Including you?" He looked away, muttering, "Especially me." Her chest tightened, realizing his presence was as dangerous as his absence. Still, she followed, her grip on the locket a reminder that answers waited just beyond reach. The detective led her into a run-down diner, its neon sign flickering against cracked glass. Inside, a lone man sat in the corner booth, his eyes sharp beneath a casual smile. The detective muttered, "Don't say I didn't warn you." Emily slid into the booth cautiously, clutching her coat tighter. The man introduced himself as Daniel, his tone warm yet hiding something darker. He said, "You're tangled in a game bigger than you know." Emily narrowed her eyes. "Who are you really?" He leaned forward, smirk lingering. "Someone who wants the same thing you do, or maybe not." Emily studied Daniel's face, searching for honesty but finding only charm laced with menace. He said, "The locket is a key, not a curse." Her fingers tightened around it instinctively. "Key to what?" she asked. His smirk widened. "To who's lying, and who's already dead." Her throat tightened, anger flickering beneath fear. She pressed, "Why help me?" His eyes glimmered with amusement. "Because your survival suits my needs, for now." Emily realized the truth. Daniel wasn't an ally. He was a predator circling closer, cloaked in calm. Emily's distrust flared as she rose from the booth. "I don't need your help." Daniel laughed softly, his tone venomous. "You'll be back when the lies close in." The detective shifted uneasily, watching them both. Emily turned toward the door, her chest heaving, when a voice called from the corner. A woman, mid-30s, sat hidden in shadow, her expression torn between guilt and fear. "Emily," she whispered, "you deserve the truth." Emily froze, recognizing the reluctant confidant. Their eyes met, and Emily felt betrayal cutting deeper than any threat. Emily approached the woman, voice trembling. "You knew." The confidante's hands shook as she said, "I tried to keep you safe." Emily's voice cracked. "By lying to me." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "By keeping you alive." Daniel chuckled, sipping his coffee. "Touching, isn't it? Loyalty bent until it breaks." The detective's gaze darkened, fists clenched. Emily's world tilted, betrayal seeping into her bones. The confidante whispered, "There are things worse than lies, Emily." The words left her colder than the night outside. The diner's suffocating silence broke when Emily stormed outside, her chest heaving with betrayal. She gripped the locket, its edges biting into her palm. The detective followed, his voice rough. "Don't let him twist you." Emily spun on him, eyes burning. "You already did." His face faltered, pain flashing through hardened features. She turned away, whispering, "I can't trust any of you." The night air stung her lungs as she pushed forward into the streets. The locket's glow under the lamplight seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, reminding her that the truth she hunted was more dangerous than she imagined. Emily's feet carried her to a forgotten alley lined with graffiti and broken lights. She leaned against the cold brick, clutching the locket to her chest. A raspy voice startled her. "It's not the first time they've used it." She turned sharply, spotting an old man hunched in the shadows, his eyes wild but knowing. His tattered coat brushed the ground as he shuffled closer. "You're chasing ghosts that never rest." Emily's voice cracked. "Who are you?" He gave a crooked grin. "The only one left who remembers." The weight of his words pressed heavy, chilling her to the bone. The old man lowered his voice, urgency trembling beneath his cracked tone. "They marked it long ago. Each symbol is a name crossed out." Emily's stomach twisted as she traced the locket's engravings with her thumb. "Names," she whispered. He nodded, coughing harshly. "Every one of them thought they'd outsmart the web. They were wrong." Emily's breath came shallow, her chest tightening as she realized the symbols weren't random. They were records of lives lost. She whispered, "How many?" The man's eyes glistened in the shadows. "Enough to know you won't be the last." Her pulse roared in her ears. Emily backed away, her voice trembling. "Why are you telling me this?" The old man's cracked lips curled into a half-smile. "Because they'll silence me soon." His words barely left his mouth before a sudden crash echoed. A figure darted at the alley's edge, their silhouette sharp against flickering lights. Emily's breath froze. The old man muttered, "It's begun." Panic flared as she realized they weren't alone. She pressed the locket tight against her chest, her heart pounding. The stranger's gaze locked on her before vanishing into the shadows, leaving dread in their wake. The old man staggered forward, his voice breaking. "Don't trust the faces you know." Emily's throat tightened. "Who are they?" But he only shook his head, eyes wide with fear. Suddenly, a sharp sound cracked the air, a gunshot. Emily screamed as the old man collapsed, blood spreading across his coat. She fell to her knees, grabbing his trembling hand. His lips moved, whispering one final word, barely audible. "Run!" Emily's tears blurred her vision as she clutched the locket and stumbled backward. The shadows around her seemed alive, pressing closer, forcing her to obey his dying command. Emily stumbled through the streets, her breath ragged, the echo of the gunshot still burning in her ears. The locket felt heavy, as though soaked in blood. She muttered, "Run," he said, "run." Her legs carried her blindly into the city's heart, where neon lights buzzed above empty sidewalks. Suddenly, her phone vibrated, displaying an unknown message. "You can't outrun what's inside you." Her chest tightened. She gasped, whispering, "Inside me?" A figure appeared across the street, half lit by the neon glow. Emily's pulse hammered as the silhouette stepped closer, calm, deliberate, like a predator closing in. Emily froze, her feet rooted to the ground, eyes locked on the figure approaching. Her phone buzzed again, the message flashing, "They've been waiting for you." The figure stepped into view. It was Daniel, the man from the diner, his smirk sharpened into menace. He called out, "I told you we'd meet again." Emily's throat went dry, her voice breaking. "You killed him." Daniel tilted his head, smiling coldly. "No, Emily. He was already dead the moment he opened his mouth." Her stomach twisted, rage and terror colliding as the locket pulsed in her grip. Emily backed away, her voice trembling. "Why me?" Daniel's eyes glimmered, his smile thin. "Because you're the only one left who doesn't know she's already part of it." Her chest tightened, anger breaking through fear. "Part of what?" His tone softened, mocking. "The lies your family built, the lies you've been running from." Emily's breath hitched, her thoughts clawing for denial. But the photograph from her bed flashed in her mind, the words scrawled across her childhood smile. "Lies always return." Daniel's smirk widened as if he could see the realization tearing her apart. The sound of footsteps broke the tense silence as another figure emerged from the shadows. The detective, face drawn with fatigue, raised his hand. "Enough, Daniel." Emily turned, whispering, "You're with him." The detective's gaze faltered, guilt shadowing his expression. "I was, but not anymore." Daniel laughed darkly. "Don't lie, old friend. She deserves the truth." Emily's world spun. Betrayal layered on betrayal, every thread tightening the noose. The detective whispered, "Emily, listen. You need to run now." Daniel's grin deepened, his voice low. "She won't run. She's too much like them." Emily's chest heaved, her mind splintering under the weight of secrets and shifting allegiances. She shouted, "Stop lying to me." Daniel's smirk vanished, replaced with cold fire. The detective lowered his head, muttering, "We've both lied." Emily's vision blurred as she clutched the locket tighter, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat in her hand. She whispered, "Then I'll find the truth myself." Daniel stepped closer, menace in every line of his body. "The truth will destroy you." The detective's voice broke. "Or save her." Emily's eyes locked on them both, rage burning. For the first time, she no longer felt afraid. Rain began to fall, slicking the streets as Emily stood between Daniel and the detective. Her heart pounded, the locket glowing faintly in her palm. Daniel's voice cut through the storm. "You were never meant to find it." Emily's jaw clenched. "Then why leave it for me?" His smile was razor thin. "Because every lie needs a witness." The detective's voice broke in, hoarse with regret. "Emily, he's not lying." Her chest tightened as the world tilted, her past unraveling faster than she could hold it. She screamed, "Then tell me the truth." The storm swallowed her words. Daniel stepped closer, rain dripping from his slick hair, his voice low and venomous. "Your family built the lies. You're the last piece of their puzzle." Emily shook her head, tears mixing with rain. "No, that's not true." The detective lowered his gaze, whispering, "It is. I helped cover it years ago." Her chest collapsed under the weight of betrayal. Daniel smirked. "You see, he's been mine all along." Emily's voice cracked, rage searing through fear. "You're both liars." The storm howled, lightning illuminating their faces, each shadowed with guilt, deceit, or despair. Emily's fury boiled over as she raised the locket high. Its symbols glowed brighter, reflecting in Daniel's eyes. He stepped back, for the first time losing composure. "You don't know what you're holding," he snarled. The detective reached out, his hand trembling. "Emily, don't." But she shouted, "Enough!" The locket pulsed like a heartbeat, light spilling across the street, etching shadows into monstrous shapes. Daniel's face twisted, his mask of control cracking. The detective shielded his eyes as Emily stood taller, her voice shaking but firm. "This ends with me." The storm roared as the locket's light flared, exposing Daniel's fury and the detective's broken guilt. Daniel lunged, shouting, "You can't escape the web!" Emily twisted away, the locket's glow searing his outstretched hand. He howled in pain, his smirk collapsing into rage. The detective staggered forward, torn between stopping Daniel and protecting Emily. "You have to end it," he cried. Emily's chest heaved, her decision heavy in her hands. Her voice broke as she whispered, "Then it ends now." She slammed the locket against the ground. The locket shattered, light exploding outward in a blinding surge. Emily screamed as the world shook, Daniel's form twisting in the brilliance before vanishing into darkness. The detective fell to his knees, face streaked with rain and regret. Emily gasped, trembling, staring at the broken pieces in her hand. The storm calmed, but the silence was heavier than thunder. The detective whispered, "It's not over, not yet." Emily's eyes locked on him, uncertain if he was ally or enemy. A faint whisper echoed from the shards, "They know where you are." Emily's breath hitched. The web was not unraveled, it had only begun.